He defeated the alien champion. Now the law forced him to take 3 wives. The accidental champion. The scorching twin suns of Nexus Prime beat down on the alien settlement's fighting pit, their light gleaming off crystalline spires that jutted from the desert like jagged teeth. Morgan Ross spat dust from his mouth, his black protective suit streaked with sand and sweat. At his feet lay the unconscious body of Kalar, the champion of this outpost. The crowd of violet and green-skinned Nexians fell into stunned silence. Tyr, what started as a simple mercenary delivery job, had spiraled into something Morgan never expected. He had only wanted to drop off medical supplies, collect his credits, and get back to the stars. But Kalar had taken offense at a human's presence demanding a duel. Morgan hadn't planned to win. He just hadn't planned to die either. Now he stood victorious, heart pounding, every eye fixed on him. Elder Thex, his crystalline staff glowing in the harsh sunlight, raised his voice so all could hear. By the ancient laws of our people, the victor assumes all rights and responsibilities of the defeated. Morgan Ross of Earth, you are now bound by our most sacred tradition. Morgan's brow furrowed. And what exactly does that mean? A sultry voice slid across the air behind him. It means, the woman purred, you've inherited everything that belonged to Kalar, including us. Morgan turned and his breath caught. 3 alien women approached, each breathtaking in her own way. The first skin a deep violet, an eye stormy gray moved with dangerous sensuality, her figure draped in a dress that left little to the imagination. I am Nera, she said, trailing a finger across his chest plate. The second, green-skinned with piercing blue eyes, carried herself with quiet authority, her posture regale. I am Via, she declared, her tone steady, dignified. The third, her violet skin lighter than Nera's, radiated warmth that softened the charged atmosphere. And I am Kira, she said softly. Nera's lips curved into a mischievous smile. We were Kalar's wives. By law, champion. We are yours now. The crowd erupted in chants and murmurs, the sound of a people witnessing tradition fulfilled. Morgan's jaw tightened, his thoughts racing. He hadn't come here to play politics or husband. This can't be serious, he muttered. But Elder Thex's staff struck the ground with finality. The law is absolute. To reject this bond is to condemn them to exile. Morgan glanced between the 3 women at their beauty, yes, but also the flickers of hope, uncertainty, and challenge in their eyes. He ran a hand through his tousled brown hair and whispered under his breath, Well, hell. The crowd cheered their new champion, and Morgan Ross, mercenary of Earth, realized his life had just taken a turn no amount of credits could ever prepare him for. Law loopholes and the 3. The private chamber smelled faintly of spice and old paper. Crystalline shelves bowed under the weight of rolled scrolls, besides sleek data tablets, a museum and a server room forced into marriage. Morgan stood in the doorway, dust drying on his suit heart, still thudding from the pit. Vea Greenskin, gleaming in the warm light, gestured to a low table covered in law discs. The Nexian Charter of Bonds, she said, voice smooth and precise, Section 8, governs succession of household rights after a champion's defeat. Household rights, Morgan echoed, stepping in. That sounds like taxes and leaky roofs, not wives. Nera lounged against the window lattice, all sharp smiles and storm-gray eyes. In our world, household means status protection. And yes, pleasure, she purred, letting the word hang like a dare. Kira arrived with a tray of cups that steamed like winter breath. Her lighter violet skin caught the glow of the chamber crystals. Spiced leaf, she offered gently. It helps with shock. Most off-worlders need it after learning our laws. Morgan took the cup, squinting at the nearest tablet. So there's a form I can sign. An appeal trial by paperwork. Vea's lips curved. There are appeals. Most take months, some years. Years, he repeated deadpan. Perfect. I'll just grow old here. Could be worse, Nera said, circling him fingers, ghosting over a dent in his chest plate. You could be dead. Instead, you're champion. And ours. He exhaled through his nose set and set the cup down. Then start at the beginning. How did you three end up with Kalar? Vea rested on her knees opposite him. I was chosen for counsel. Kalar valued law when it secured his image. Dancer Nera said, unapologetic. He saw me at the Festival of Twin Moons, claimed me that night. He liked crowds to know I was his. Kira folded beside Nera, hands in her lap. I'm a healer. He respected my work even if he rarely asked how I was. Morgan studied their faces, the gaps in their words. Not cruel, he said slowly, but not kind. Vea dipped her chin. He was traditional, prestige first, people second. He leaned back, the chair creaking. On Earth we date, talk, make mistakes, try again. We don't win a fight and get handed a family. How terribly inefficient, Nera teased, eyes bright. Kira's smile softened the room. I think it sounds careful. Morgan rubbed his temples. Look, I don't want to ruin your lives or mine. If there's a way to dissolve this without hurting anyone. Vea slid a tablet toward him. Dissolution is legal under clause 8.7. It requires a consent triad, champion, first wife, and the elder council. Which means politics, Morgan muttered. Which means consequences, Vea corrected. Loss of status for us, loss of face for you. And a line of challengers smelling weakness. Nera perched on the table's edge, close enough for him to see the tiny fractured frost patterns in her irises. You want freedom. Prove you can keep it. That's our way. Your way involves glowing paint and bare chests, he shot back. Kira's eyes lit with quiet amusement. It does, actually. They walked him through the customs, the champion's duties, the wife's rights, the web of ritual and responsibility that kept a desert world from tearing itself apart. Somewhere between the legal clauses and the tea refills, the chamber stopped feeling like a cage and more like a map, one he might actually learn to read. What if he said at last, I stop looking for an exit and learn the job I accidentally won? Vea's lashes fluttered, one surprise slipping through her composed facade. Nera's smile sharpened into something approving. Kira's shoulders unknotted, a relief so palpable it was almost a touch. Good, Nera murmured. Because word is spreading, you'll be challenged. Dax Thor's been wanting us for years. He won't like a human wearing our paint. Morgan spread his hands. Explain the paint. Vea rose, retrieving a carved tin of shimmering blue pigment. When she uncapped it, the scent of salt and lightning lifted into the air. Photoreactive. Absorbs the twin suns and syncs with your neuromuscular signals. Enhances reaction timing and micro strength. It's difficult to explain in a single sentence. Try me, he said, but he was smiling now despite himself. Kira drew closer, tracing an invisible sigil across his forearm. We mark you with symbols of role and intent protection, unity, restraint. Power without purpose is just noise. Speaking of purpose, Nera said, leaning into his ear, ours is to make sure you win. He looked from one to the other, wisdom, passion, harmony, like a constellation he could finally name. All right, he said, standing, teach me your combat angles. Via you handle the rhythm and counters. Kira breathing and nerve points. Nera. Distraction. She grinned wickedly. I excel. Focus, Via scolded, though humor warmed her tone. We'll need more than showmanship. Dax Thor is strength plus stamina. The key is to let him tire, then turn his momentum. Kira handed Morgan a length of weighted cloth. Practice with this. We'll teach you how to make a giant miss by an inch and regret it by a mile. They trained until the suns smeared orange across the windows, until the pigment on Morgan's chest sparked with living light. Via corrected footwork with the patience of a scholar. Kira tapped nerve ladders along his shoulders, murmuring, "Breathe here, not there." Nera stalked around them like a delighted storm, tossing taunts that would rattle an ox and smiling when Morgan didn't bite. By night, they collapsed around the law table sharing food, and the gentler questions people ask when they've bled together. "What do humans vow when they marry?" Kira asked. Different words, Morgan said, rolling a cup in his hands. "Same promise, I see you. I choose you. I keep choosing you." Nera's teasing faded to something fierce and honest. "Then see us. Choose us, not as prizes, partners." Vea's blue eyes held his. "And let us choose you. Wisdom isn't surrender. It's consent." He swallowed a small stubborn lump of old mercenary instinct loosening in his chest. "Deal." The horn sounded at dawn, long, low, and hungry. From the plaza below came the murmur of a crowd already building to heat. Via stepped close with the pigment tin, shirt off. "Bossy," he said, obeying. Her fingers were cool and precise, drawing sigils across his skin, protection over the sternum, unity along the ribs, restraint coiled at each shoulder. The paint glowed faintly as the first sun crested the horizon. Kira looped a thread of herbs around his wrist. For breath, for calm. Nera brushed her thumb along his jaw, eyes blazing. For victory. Morgan rolled his shoulders, feeling the strange alive hum of the paint, the steady chord of the herb, the weight of 3 gazes at his back. "Let's go meet Dax Thor," he said. Outside, the roar rose to greet them. The fighting circle glimmered like a coin in a furnace. Across it, a mountain of violet muscle stood waiting, ritual red already burning along his arms. Dax Thor bared his teeth. "Human," he spat, "I will wash those sacred marks off with your blood." Morgan stepped into the circle, the pigment on his chest answering the suns with a cold electric thrill. "Try," he said. The elder's staff struck stone. "Begin." Duel of Suns. The roar of the crowd thundered across the plaza as the twin suns of Nexus Prime crested the sky, bathing the circle in merciless light. Dust-swirled banners rippled, and 1,000 alien eyes fixed on the unlikely figure standing bare-chested in glowing blue paint. Morgan Ross, mercenary of Earth, squared his shoulders. The pigment shimmered with each breath, tracing ancient sigils across his chest and arms. Every line burned with intent, protection, unity, restraint. He could feel the paint alive under his skin, humming like static before a storm. Across the circle, Dax Thor loomed a mountain of violet muscle, carved in rage and arrogance. His crimson ritual paint made his skin look nearly black, jagged strokes, like war scars across his chest. He cracked his neck, his grin wide and cruel. "The human dares," he growled, voice carrying over the crowd. "This farce ends today." Eldathex's crystalline staff struck stone. "Begin." Clash of Titans. Dax Thor didn't hesitate. He lunged forward like a charging beast, the ground shaking beneath his feet. Morgan's instincts screamed to dodge wide, but Via's voice echoed in his head. Don't run. Step just enough. Let his momentum betray him. So he shifted a single step. The violet giant thundered past his fist, grazing air, where Morgan's jaw had been. The crowd gasped. Morgan countered, with a sharp elbow to the kidney, the blow precise, calculated. Dax Thor grunted, stumbling, then spun with shocking speed for a man his size. His backhand caught Morgan across the jaw, sending him staggering. Pain exploded in his skull. Blood filled his mouth. The crowd roared approval. Get up. Nera's voice, sultry even in memory, purred inside him. Pain means you're alive. Alive means you can fight. Morgan steadied his breath. The glowing pigment pulsed brighter, sinking with his muscles sharpening his reflexes. He felt faster. Dax Thor snarled, coming again. This time Morgan met him head-on. He ducked under a swing, slipped close, and drove 2 punches into the alien's ribs. The first bounced like hitting a wall. The second, guided by Kira's lesson on nerve clusters, made Dax Thor grunt and falter. Morgan pivoted, swept his leg, and forced the brute to stumble to one knee. The paint on Morgan's chest blazed with light, feeding on exertion, enhancing his strength. The Nexian wives watched from their ceremonial places. Vea's eyes tracked every angle, lips moving with silent coaching. Kira clasped her hands in prayer, whispering for balance. Nera leaned forward, stormy eyes alight, whispering magnificent. The dance of violence. The duel became rhythm, strike, sleep, breathe. Dax Thor's blows were hurricanes, deadly but wide. Morgan's were needles, precise, probing. Each time the suns flared overhead, the blue paint across his skin glowed brighter, until the human looked like a figure, carved of lightning and dust. You fight like prey, Dax Thor roared, chest heaving. No, Morgan spat, blood circling, I fight smart. The alien charged again, frustration fueling his speed. Morgan let him sidestepping at the last second. This time he wrapped an arm around Dax Thor's throat, applying pressure exactly where Vea had shown him the nexus of nerves at the base of the neck. Submit, Morgan growled. Dax Thor thrashed, his crimson paint flickering erratically. He elbowed backward, catching Morgan in the ribs. Pain flared white hot, but Morgan held on, tightening the choke. Never, Dax. Thor choked, muscles bulging, teeth bared. A human cannot. His words strangled into silence as his body sagged. Consciousness slipped. Morgan eased him down, carefully laying the massive frame in the dust. His chest heaved, his own paint still glowing like fire in the suns. The champion's verdict. Elder Thex's staff struck the ground again. The challenge is concluded. Morgan Ross of Earth remains champion of Nexus Prime. The wives are his by right of combat, and his bond is unbroken. The plaza erupted into deafening cheers. Morgan turned, sweat dripping down his jaw, chest still blazing with blue light. His eyes found his wives in the crowd. Vea stood proud, serene, her blue eyes shining with pride. Nera smirked, like a cat watching its favorite predator win a hunt. Kira's smile was soft, radiant with relief. Morgan raised a fist to the crowd, but his voice, low and steady, was for them. I didn't fight to keep you, he said. I fought because I refused to lose what we're building. The 3 exchanged glances, startled then warmed by his words. The law had forced them together, but choice was beginning to bind them stronger. The Feast of Twin Moons. That night, the settlement transformed. Lanterns of colored crystal swung from towers, painting the plaza in rainbow hues. Smoke from ceremonial burners curled into the sky, filling the air with scents of spice and incense. Morgan sat at the head of a long table, ritual paint still faintly glowing on his chest. His wives performed the dance of gratitude, a traditional display where each movement told a story. Vea's dance was precise, elegant, a promise of loyalty and wisdom. Nera's was fire incarnate, her every step daring him to match her passion. Kira's was gentle, healing, her grace, a reminder that harmony had strength of its own. Elder Thex leaned close, voice amused. They compete for you, champion, as tradition dictates. Tonight you see their intentions. Morgan's lips quirked. What I see is 3 women who deserve better than being treated as spoils. Thex's crystalline eyes glittered. Then treat them as more. That, too, is strength. The feast swelled around them. Wine poured exotic fruits, shared songs rising under the twin moons. Each wife took turns at his side. Vea explained the desert flower wine that shimmered blue in his cup. Nera fed him fruit with a smirk, brushing against him deliberately. Kira spoke of a blessing ritual meant to ensure harmony in new unions. For the first time since stepping into this world, Morgan laughed without restraint. For the first time he felt not trapped, but chosen. The shadow of tomorrow. Later, as the crowd danced and sang, Morgan slipped away with Vea to a quieter corner. Nera was teaching the younger girls a scandalous new step. Kira was tending overindulged guests. Is it always this chaotic? Morgan asked, shaking his head. Vea smiled knowingly. It settles, eventually. But you stir things. You make us want to prove ourselves worthy. He snorted. I thought I was the one who had to prove worthy of you three. Perhaps both are true, she said softly, eyes reflecting lantern light. Before he could reply, Nera sauntered up, mischief sparking in her gaze. Enough whispers, scholar. It's time our champion learned what true celebration looks like. Kira joined, blushing but resolute. She's right. The blessing ritual is not complete without all of us. Morgan looked at the three of them. Wisdom, passion, harmony. And for the first time, he didn't feel like an outsider wearing stolen paint. He felt like a man standing at the threshold of something vast, terrifying, and beautiful. Above them, the twin moons aligned in silver embrace. The air shimmered with ritual, with promise. And Morgan Ross, once a lone mercenary adrift among stars, realized the real fight was only just beginning. The Festival of Binding, the Temple of Eternal Unity, rose from the desert sands like a dream, carved in crystal. Its spires caught the silver light of 3 moons, climbing into alignment. The air thrummed with power. Nexians whispered prayers as drums echoed from the plaza below. Morgan Ross stood at the entrance, shoulder-squared, ceremonial robe clinging to him like liquid fire. His chest was bare beneath, still faintly stained, with the glowing paint of victory. The elder staff rang against the temple floor. Tonight, Elder Thex intoned as the moons aligned the champion, and his wives complete the Festival of Binding. Through 3 sacred rituals, their union is tested, strengthened, and made eternal. The crowd answered with a low chant, rhythmic as a heartbeat. The first chamber, wisdom. Morgan stepped into the first chamber. Vea awaited him, her green skin adorned with luminescent patterns, more intricate than any battle paint. The room glowed with liquid light. A pool at its center shimmered like molten stars. This is the ritual of wisdom, Vea said, voice soft but steady. We place our hands in the memory pool. It will reveal our truths. My mind, your mind, no lies. Morgan knelt beside her. Their hands touched the water. The chamber pulsed. Images slammed into his mind. Vea as a girl, her face lit by curiosity, studying law scrolls until her eyes burned. Vea as a young wife, chosen for her knowledge navigating politics, while her husband barely listened. Her quiet loneliness. And then her first glimpse of him, human and defiant in the pit. A flash of wonder. He fights differently. He looks at us differently. In return, she saw him the mercenary years, the hollow victories, the silence of drifting alone in a starship bunk. The scars hidden under sarcasm. The ache for connection he never admitted. When the vision faded, tears streaked down Vea's cheeks. She smiled anyway, luminous. Your mind. It is ordered yet restless. A warrior's heart but a scholar's hunger. She swallowed. I see why the moons chose you. Morgan squeezed her hand. And I see why I can't walk this path without you. The pool shimmered once more, sealing the bond. The first moon reached its peak above the temple. The second chamber, passion. The air in the second chamber vibrated with heat and music. Mirrors lined the walls, reflecting 100 versions of Morgan as he entered. Nera stood at the center, violet skin glowing with inner fire eyes, stormy and daring. This is the passion dance, she purred. Every step reveals truth, no words, only desire. She pressed his hands to her waist. Follow me, champion. The dance began, slow turn, step, pivot. But the tempo quickened, each movement sharper, hungrier. Their bodies wove together, every brush of skin a spark. In the mirrors, Morgan saw not just their steps, but their raw emotions, her pride, her hunger, her longing to be seen as more than spectacle. His guarded desire breaking open into something fiercer. You hide behind duty, Nera whispered as she spun, pulling him closer. But your heart craves fire. Let it burn. The final steps snapped into perfect synchronization, bodies, locked eyes blazing. The air between them throbbed with unspoken promises. Nera's lips hovered a breath from his. Now you understand. Passion is not chaos. It is truth. The second moon reached its apex, silver fire, pouring into the mirrors until their reflections looked like stars. The third chamber, harmony. The highest chamber was quiet, filled with fragrant smoke and glowing crystals arranged in concentric circles. Kira stood at its heart, lighter violet skin, almost luminous, her presence calm as dawn. This is the ritual of hearts, she said softly. Through song and spirit we reveal harmony, no masks, no pretense. She began to sing an ancient Nexian melody, low and haunting. The crystals resonated, amplifying her voice, until the chamber itself hummed. Without thinking, Morgan answered his human voice, rough but steady. Their tones twined, weaving together into something greater. Kira's eyes shone with tears as the sound swelled, wrapping them both in a cocoon of resonance. He felt her healing touch, her quiet strength, the hidden fear that she might always be overshadowed by the others. No, Morgan whispered mid-song, pulling her close. You're the balance, the heart. Without you, nothing works. Her smile trembled radiant, and without you, I am incomplete. The crystals blazed, the harmony filling every corner of the temple. The third moon crowned the sky. Union. The wives joined him in the central chamber, each glowing with the energy of their ritual. Wisdom, passion, harmony, three threads woven into one. The moons aligned overhead, flooding the temple with silver fire. Elder Thex raised his staff. The festival of binding is complete. But tell us, champion, what do you vow? Morgan looked at each of them, Vea's intellect burning like a forge, Nera's fire daring him to rise, Kira's gentleness binding them together. He spoke in careful Nexian voice, ringing in the crystal chamber. I vow to honor the wisdom you share, the passion you inspire, the harmony you create, not as three bonds, but one union. The chamber pulsed with energy. The crowd below erupted in cheers that shook the desert night. And for the first time, Morgan felt not like a man trapped by alien law, but a man who had chosen his fate. The shadow of tomorrow. The vows still echoed when a holographic message cut through the celebration. A blue light shimmered, projecting the stern face of Commander Sarah Blake, his old superior in the mercenary corps. Ross, she said, her voice cold and urgent. We've got a situation that requires your unique skill set. Triple your usual rate. Full details upon acceptance. 12 hours to decide. Blake out. The hologram faded, leaving silence in its wake. 3 pairs of eyes turned to him, each reflecting different emotions. Curiosity, concern, challenge. Morgan's gut twisted. The past he'd buried was knocking, and this time, he wasn't the only one answering. The mercenary's temptation. The morning after the festival of binding should have been peace, should have been laughter, quiet meals, the slow settling of a bond freshly sealed. Instead, the family's private chamber glowed harsh blue, with the hologram still replaying in Morgan's mind. Commander Sarah Blake, iron-willed scar across her cheek, voice like steel had dangled. The one thing Morgan thought he'd left behind, the thrill of battle for pay. Triple your usual rate, exclusive mining rights, 12 hours to decide. The message ended, but silence stayed. The wife's reactions. Nera broke it first. She leaned back, violet skin shimmering in morning light, eyes narrowed like a cat who smelled blood. Triple, enough to buy half this settlement, enough to keep us in luxury for years. She tapped her lip, smile sharp. I like her style. Vea didn't smile. She folded her green arms across her chest, posture regal but troubled. Mining rights could transform our people's future. Medicine, trade routes, alliances. But off-world missions last months, sometimes years. Would you leave us behind? Kira set down the breakfast tray with trembling hands. Her lighter violet skin flushed, pale eyes flicking between them. She busied herself arranging cups, but her silence was louder than any protest. Morgan sighed, running a hand through his tousled hair. I haven't accepted anything. I'm not that lone wolf mercenary anymore. I've got responsibilities here. Commitments. Commitments don't silence hunger, Nera said, sliding closer. I feel it in you, champion. That wild human spirit, restless even in our arms. Vea's voice cut in, steady and sharp. And what of ours? We accepted you not as a man who hides his nature, but one who honors it. A warrior's heart doesn't stop beating because a ring is on his finger. Kira finally spoke, voice soft but firm. The question isn't whether you missed that life, but whether that life still fits who you've become. At the window. Morgan moved to the crystalline window, staring out at the settlement below. Nexian children darted through streets. Traders unloaded goods. His wives had begun teaching their crafts to apprentices. In just a few months, this place had become more home than anywhere he'd known in years. If Blake's paying triple, he muttered half to himself, something big is brewing out there. Then, hear her out. Vea urged, coming to stand beside him. Knowledge before action. Our traditions teach this. Nera pressed against his other side, fingers tracing his arm. And if you go, you'll have something worth coming back to. Something no mercenary has ever claimed. Kira joined last, resting a calming hand on his shoulder. Whatever choice you make, we face it together. That's what family means. The word hit harder than any blow Dax Thor had thrown. Family. Breaking tradition. Hours later, the communication chamber filled with silver blue light as Blake's hologram reappeared. This time, Morgan wasn't alone. His wives flanked him, 3 Nexian women standing proud, united. Blake's eyebrows shot up. Ross, this is unexpected. Morgan's voice was calm but iron. My wives are part of this discussion. Any future contract includes them. Blake's lips twitched. Word was you'd gotten yourself tangled in some primitive marriage law. I didn't believe it. Believe it, Morgan said flatly. They're my family, my advisors. Silence stretched. Then slowly Blake's calculating gaze shifted. Actually, this could work. The mission involves infiltrating a syndicate pleasure ship, having 3 alien wives as cover perfect. No, Morgan's tone was a blade. They're not props. We do this our way or not at all. For the first time, Blake's mask cracked into a genuine smile. You've changed, Ross. Stronger than I remember. All right, let's hear what your family proposes. A new kind of briefing. What followed wasn't a briefing, it was a revelation. Vea dissected the syndicate's logistics, like a strategist born mapping supply lines and weak points. Nera leaned forward, grey eyes blazing, explaining how social manipulation and distraction could topple even a careful guard. Kira, quiet but incisive, outlined psychological pressure points that could dismantle a crew without a shot fired. Blake listened skeptical at first, then nodding, then smirking. By the end, she leaned back, arms folded. "I'll have the contract rewritten. Ross, your wives are remarkable." "They know," Morgan said, though his lips curved with pride. The hologram faded. The chamber dimmed. Morgan turned to them, voice low. "Are you sure this won't be safe?" Nera's smirk widened. "Neither is being married to you." Veya inclined her head. "We've already proven stronger together." Kira's eyes softened, but a mischievous spark glowed there too. "And someone has to make sure you don't fall back into old habits." The target. Later that night, under the glow of the twin moons, the four of them stood at the edge of the landing pad. Their shuttle gleamed like a silver arrow loaded for departure. Morgan adjusted his formal attire, so alien compared to his mercenary armor. His wives had transformed too, their traditional dresses remade into elegant couture. Exotic, alluring, unstoppable. The Stellar Lotus awaited them, the Syndicate's most decadent pleasure ship. Floating palace of crime and corruption, their first mission as a family. Morgan's pulse quickened as the engines whined. He looked at his wives, wisdom, passion, harmony, and knew this wasn't just about pay or contracts. It was about proving that together they were more than any mercenary, any champion, any law. The shuttle door sealed with a hiss. "Next stop," Nera said, her grin dangerous, the heart of the Syndicate. Masks in the ballroom. The Stellar Lotus drifted through the void like a jewel carved from starlight. Its crystalline hull shimmered with shifting constellations, every angle reflecting the luxury of the galaxy's most infamous pleasure ship. Morgan adjusted the collar of his borrowed formal wear, tugging at the stiff fabric. He hated suits. Give him battered combat armor over silk any day. But tonight wasn't about preference, it was about survival. His wives flanked him as the shuttle docked. Together they looked like royalty. Veya wore an elegant gown, threaded with Nexian glyphs, green skin glowing under subtle crystal lights. Nera's dress clung like liquid fire, her violet form a weapon of distraction in itself. Kira's lighter violet skin was complemented by flowing silver silk, every movement serene and disarming. The ramp descended. Whispers swept through the docking bay. Humans and aliens alike stared. "Remember," Veya murmured as they walked, "our target is the Syndicate's security chief. He'll be in the ballroom overseeing operations. We distract, extract, and vanish." "Easy," Morgan muttered. What could go wrong? The grand ballroom, the Lotus's ballroom, was a cathedral of excess. Floating chandeliers of liquid light drifted above, while gravity-defying fountains sprayed shimmering arcs across the marble floor. Alien dignitaries and wealthy humans mingled beneath holographic constellations that danced across the vaulted ceiling. Eyes turned the moment Morgan and his wives entered. Gasps rippled like waves. Nexian women were rare enough, off-world 3 wives on the arm of a human champion. That was scandal, intrigue, and gossip fuel for years. A human woman with a silk-smooth voice glided up, smiling with predatory charm. "Your companions are exquisite. Tell me, are they available for private?" Morgan's smile froze. "They're not companions. They're my family." The woman blinked, stammered. Nera stepped forward, stormy eyes flashing dangerously. "Choose your words more carefully," she purred. "Nexian women have passionate responses to disrespect." The woman paled and retreated. Kira laid a calming hand on Nera's arm, whispering, "Save that fire for the mission." The split. "Target sighted," Veya murmured, eyes on a burly human male near the dais. His cybernetic implants gleamed at his temples. "The Syndicate security chief. I'll handle the data extraction," Veya whispered, already moving toward the ship's servers, hidden behind the ballroom walls. Nera Morgan said, voice low, your distraction. Her smirk was wicked. My specialty. She sauntered across the floor, every step a calculated snare. The chief's augmented eyes locked on her immediately. Perfect. Kira Morgan added. She nodded once. Medical wing. Emergency protocols are our exit plan. Then she was gone, graceful as mist. Morgan lingered near the fountain, sipping at a glass of glittering wine he had no intention of drinking. His eyes tracked each of them. His heart thudded. So far, so good. Complications. Then he saw her. Commander Sarah Blake, his old superior. Escorted through the ballroom by armed syndicate guards, her hands bound, her glare defiant. Morgan's blood ran cold. What the hell is she doing here? He whispered into the secure comm. Complication, Via's voice crackled back, tense. They must have intercepted her communication. Abort. No Nera purred through the channel, still laughing at something the chief said. They don't know what we look like. Blake won't betray us. Stay in character. Morgan's jaw clenched. He shifted casually toward better cover, hand brushing the concealed blade, strapped beneath his jacket. Adapt and overcome, he reminded himself. Always. Improvisation. As Blake was paraded toward the dais, Nera leaned into the chief's arm, her touch seemingly affectionate. In reality, her fingers pressed a precise nerve cluster. One of his guards crumpled without a sound. Via's voice came back sharp. Data transfer at 80%. Keep him busy. On it, Nera said aloud, giggling like a courtesan, while the chief's attention locked on her. Kira whispered across comms, medical evac path secured. If things turn ugly, I can trigger an outbreak alarm. 3 minutes window. Morgan moved, slowly, naturally weaving through clusters of laughing dignitaries. He circled closer every step, positioning him for the inevitable break. When it broke, it happened faster than breath. A guard strode up to the chief, datapad in hand. Facial recognition just pinged. He never finished. Nera's caress became a strike, dropping him instantly. The chief's eyes widened. He reached for his weapon and found Morgan's blade already pressed to his throat. Now, Morgan said, quietly smiling like a man at a dinner party. No need to make a scene. The chief growled. You don't know what you're dealing with. Yes, we do. Via's voice rang out from behind him. She slipped from the shadows, data rod in hand. Your entire smuggling network is exposed. Kira appeared at Morgan's side as if she had materialized from air pressing a sedative injector to the chief's neck. Medical emergency protocols activated. 3 minutes until override. The chief sagged unconscious. Morgan caught him with one arm, making it look like he was helping a drunken guest. Across the ballroom, Blake suddenly started a drunken brawl, with 2 alien dignitaries buying them precious seconds. Time to leave, Via said crisply. Escape. They moved with practiced precision, Nera laughing as she dragged Morgan toward the exit, Via slipping data rods into her sleeve, Kira already clearing the medical path. By the time the syndicate realized something was wrong, the family was gone. Their shuttle ripped free from the stellar lotus, streaking into the void. Mission accomplished. Via reported, eyes already scanning the stolen data. Smuggling network dismantled, no casualties. Kira added, tending a shallow cut on Morgan's hand. And Nera stretched like a satisfied cat. We got to crash the galaxy's most exclusive party. Not bad for a family outing. Morgan leaned back in his seat, looking at each of them. Beautiful, brilliant, dangerous. His wives, his family. You know what this means, he said. Via glanced up, smirking. Commander Blake will hire us again. Good. They all answered in unison, then laughed. The price of fame. The shuttle pierced the desert sky like a falling star. Below the settlement, blazed with light lanterns, strung across towers, banners unfurled, and crowds already packed shoulder to shoulder. The story of the human champion and his 3 Nexian wives who humbled the syndicate had outrun the ship itself. When Morgan descended the ramp, the roar was deafening. Holographic drones swarmed overhead, projecting headlines into the air. Human Nexian quadruple syndicate network. Accidental marriage sparks galactic power shift. Nera waved at the crowd, like she'd been born for this stage, her stormy eyes sparkling. Via walked with measured dignity, every step controlled. Kira clutched Morgan's hand, smiling shyly at the children cheering her name. At the front of the plaza stood Elder Thek's crystalline staff glowing. But beside him, several council members wore expressions as cold as stone. The challenge at home. One councillor stepped forward, robes heavy with dust-colored sigils. "Our champion's duty is to protect this settlement," he thundered. "Not parade across the stars like a common performer." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Nera's lips curved into a dangerous smile. "This performance secured wealth and allies that your council never dreamed of." "Careful," another elder snapped. "We preserve our ways through privacy, not by flaunting them to off-worlders." Morgan stepped forward, his voice carrying like steel. "When I took this role, I swore to protect and provide. Protection doesn't always mean hiding behind walls. Sometimes it means showing the galaxy what happens when you underestimate us." "Big words," a third elder scoffed. "But what matters most, champion power, fame, or our traditions?" Tex's staff rang against the ground, silencing them. Let him answer. The speech. Morgan turned, sweeping his gaze across the plaza at the proud, the doubtful, the young staring wide-eyed. Then back to his wives, who flanked him in quiet solidarity. "What matters most?" he repeated, voice low but firm. "Family. That's what I found here. Not just with my wives, but with this settlement. With all of you. Unity, not isolation. Strength, not stagnation. We adapt or we die." Vea stepped forward, her voice calm but commanding. "The Syndicate's defeat has opened trade with 17 new worlds. Our crafts, medicines, and traditions are already in demand. We are not losing ourselves, we are sharing from a position of strength," Kira added softly. "And we're healing too, teaching others to respect what they once dismissed." The council faltered, murmuring to one another. Thex's crystalline laughter broke the tension. This human was doubted when he first claimed champion's rights. Yet look what he's brought us, not ruin but evolution. Our ways endure because they adapt. The crowd erupted in cheers, drowning out the last voices of dissent. Reflection in the pit. Later, as the celebration swelled, Morgan wandered back to the fighting pit where his journey had begun. The sand still bore faint marks of old battles. Nera slipped her arm around his. "Second thoughts, champion." "Never," Morgan said. He pulled her close, then reached for Vea and Kira too. "Best mistake I ever made." Vea's blue eyes twinkled. Statistically, perhaps not a mistake at all. More like inevitability. Kira giggled, covering her mouth. "She's saying fate brought us together." Morgan laughed, shaking his head. "Maybe she's right." He looked at the pit, then the stars overhead. Maybe this was always meant to be. Above them, drones flashed headlines into the night. The human champion's family, a new era for Nexus Prime. Morgan ignored them. He had no need for headlines. He already had everything he needed right here. But the stars call again. Later that night, Nera's voice broke the peace as she traced a finger along his chest. "So, champion, what's next for the galaxy's most famous quartet?" Vea answered without looking up from her datapad. "Commander Blake has already sent 3 new offers. Diplomatic missions, covert operations, each tailored to us." Kira added, "The settlement's medical center needs expansion. And I've begun developing new healing methods that combine Earth and Nexian practices. Morgan looked at all three of them, wisdom, passion, harmony, and felt his chest tighten with pride. "We'll do it all," he said, "together, just like always." Nera smirked, leaning closer, "Together in everything." Kira blushed. Vea rolled her eyes, though a smile betrayed her amusement. Morgan chuckled. "Well, almost everything." Before he could say more, a comm alert chimed sharp in the corner of the room. "Incoming transmission. High priority." Morgan's jaw tightened. He looked at his wives. "Looks like the galaxy isn't done with us yet." A family forged in stars. The comm screen lit their private chamber with cold blue fire. Morgan's pulse thudded as the encrypted message decrypted line by line. His wives gathered close eyes, fixed on the display. Priority 1 Commander, Sarah Blake. Her hologram appeared battle-worn but alive, the scar across her cheek catching the light. "Ross, you and your wives did more than anyone thought possible. The Syndicate's networks are crumbling, but something darker is moving in the void. I need you for..." "Not as mercenaries," her gaze hardened, "but as a team. You've 12 hours to decide." The hologram cut, leaving silence heavy as stone. The weight of choice. Morgan stared at the screen, then at the three pairs of eyes watching him. Nera broke the silence with a sharp grin. "Finally, a challenge worthy of our fire." Vea folded her arms, expression thoughtful. "Darker forces means destabilization. If the Syndicate falls, another will rise. The question is, do we shape that future or wait for it to crush us?" Kira's voice was gentle, but her hands trembled where they rested in her lap. "Every path forward is dangerous, but family faces it together or not at all." Morgan exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. "I swore I'd never run with the Corps again. But this isn't the same, not anymore." He looked at them, wisdom, passion, harmony. "If we go as one. No more lone wolf." The settlement's blessing. At dawn, the four stood before Elder Thex and the Council. The crystalline spires of the settlement blazed gold beneath the twin suns. "You leave again?" one counselor asked, voice sharp. Morgan nodded. "Yes, but not to abandon. To protect. To make sure the fight never reaches our gates." Vea stepped forward, calm and precise. "Trade flows already. Our presence among the stars only strengthens it." Nera smirked. "And if anyone doubts our strength, let them face us in the pit." Kira bowed slightly, voice like quiet thunder. "We carry our people with us, in every choice, in every song." Elder Thex's crystalline laughter rang out. "Then go, champion. Go, wives. Show the stars what it means to be Nexian and human united." The crowd's cheer shook the desert. Departure. Their ship, the Stellar Shadow, retrofitted and gleaming waited at the pad. Its hull bore new markings, Nexian glyphs for strength, unity, and family painted alongside Earth's simple word, Ross. Morgan's heart hammered as he led them aboard. For the first time, he didn't feel like a mercenary leaving home. He felt like a husband, a champion, a father to a legacy not yet written. The engines roared. The settlement dwindled to a glittering jewel of crystal and sand below. Nera leaned against his arm, eyes blazing. "Wherever we're going, it'll burn before us." Vea tapped at the console, blue eyes sharp. "And rebuild stronger after." Kira slipped her hand into his, her smile soft as starlight. "Together." Morgan grinned, gaze fixed on the endless stars. "Always." Epilogue. News drones across the galaxy buzzed with their image, the human champion and his 3 alien wives. To some they were a scandal, to others legends. But aboard the Stellar Shadow, none of that mattered. They were more than mercenaries, more than tradition. They were a family forged by chance, strengthened by choice, bound by love that defied worlds. And somewhere in the dark beyond new adventures waited. Morgan Ross tightened his grip on the controls. Let's show the galaxy what a family can do. The stars swallowed them whole,